people that are out there that are waiting, prepared to be offended. I'm sick of it. You cannot have workplaces that are out there where every single thing that you say, you have to watch every word that comes out of your mouth. Otherwise, it could be your livelihood. And I'm not saying that you can walk around saying anything. That's not what this is. Everybody knows. I think that's the most frustrating part when you have these kind of conversations is that you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But the intellectual dishonesty around this kind of thing is just, it's fucking mind-boggling.
Oh, that was fast. So welcome back to Streams, man. This is episode 40. I'm actually skipping episode 39 for those who might be wondering why the sequence did not persist, because I actually did an episode 39. I had took a week off from posting because I recorded an episode. I did not like the episode. I actually took 2 weeks off from Streams itself because because that episode that I recorded of Streams, I did not like it. I like the subject matter, so I might just regurgitate that info another time. But it was just the state that I was in when I recorded it. I did not sound good. I did not feel good. I was very, very sleepy. I was coming off of like 3-4 hours of sleep, got up, took my kids to school, being a father. And by the time I got to the studio, right after I dropped my kids off at school and was like, I'm going to try to be productive. So I sat down to do that episode, but I was like, man, I don't even like the way that this shit is turning out. So fuck it. I just let that episode go. And I'm going to try again for that particular topic. To be honest, I don't even remember what the topic was. You know what it was? It was about me talking about the fact that hip hop needs to go back to physical media and all the stuff around that. And like I said, great talk, just horrible delivery, and I do not want to put out half-ass stuff. I actually made a post, actual text post in my YouTube community explaining that, just for anybody who may have been wondering, which probably was nobody. But it's all good, you know what I mean? Before I get into the rest of the video, as you saw in the intro, I'm going to play a little bit more from that video. But before I even do that, I do want to talk about a couple of the new things that a couple of the new endeavors that I'm going into for this channel. Just last week, I introduced the first interview that I've ever done with Camila Cantu. This is the first time that I've ever done an actual interview show, but I've been planning to do that for years and years and years. I've been tip drilling this shit, broaching this topic, flirting around with the idea of doing an interview show for years. As one of my niggas can attest, my homeboy Brandon, he's a animator and a videographer, and he's just all things kind of film and video and photo even. So I've been hitting him up. I always hit him up and consult with him about certain things, whether it's lighting or whatever. But I've been asking him, like, man, what would you charge me to light this episode, shoot this episode? And I've been talking to him about this for years. But since then, I actually acquired this camera, a second camera. So, and I've learned so much more on my own and by way of my homeboy Brandon. So I kind of can do it on my own, but I'm still not like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not a expert or anything, but I know enough now, and I have enough now to where I could shoot it on my own without help. But eventually I still want to bring other people into the fold to pick up on the production value of the show. And, and also I don't want to do it all on my own. Doing everything by yourself fucking sucks, but it does save you a lot of money. But yeah, anyway, man, I did an interview with Camila. If you don't know that already, you could click the name of my channel and go to Time Ain't Real interviews. I got a playlist for it. And if, check out that first episode. I'm actually intending to record my second episode tomorrow. So I'm just doing content, bro. I also introduced a new series called Sessions at Babylon, because my studio is called Babylon Studios. And I figure if I got this camera, man, I might as well put this motherfucker to use. So I start setting up the camera in the middle of my sessions and just recording, man, so I can create more content. And I think that's interesting. I've always looked for interesting studio content, especially when I was younger, and I was like hungry to know what that looked like before I had ever really been in a studio. I used to Google for studio videos and stuff like that because I just wanted to watch how the process goes. It's very interesting to me, at least. Watching producers make beats in the studio, watching rappers later verses or construct their song, or singers construct their song, watching people write, stuff like that. So I figure, there's probably still people that are interested in that sort of thing that are, that can relate to me, or, people like me, whether they're young or as old as I am or older. People are interested in music and the creation of music, not just the music. So I figured that would be another avenue, for content. So I put the first episode of that up actually this morning. And it's just 6 a.m. One of my artists, one of my homeboys in here recording background vocals for one of my songs, actually. Probably going to be posting another episode of that. That's going to be sporadic. It's not necessarily going to be a scheduled thing, because that depends on when I'm in the studio, if the content is interesting, and if I do record, because I don't record in every session, because every session isn't really worth recording, you know what I'm saying? And then I don't always have the relationship with the artist that way, so I don't necessarily feel comfortable recording their studio session, you know what I mean? But when I do feel like it, and I feel like it's one of those magical sessions, I'm going to just start rolling my camera and seeing what we come up with. But yeah, those are two new series. Oh, and a third series. So for those of you that don't know what Dungeons and Dragons is, it's a tabletop game that's been played for 50, 60 years now. I believe it was invented in the 70s. I've been playing it since the late 90s, early 2000s. And I always kind of kept that a secret, even from my friends, because even from like friends that weren't a part of that particular friend group, my other friends, I kind of kept that away from, because I didn't want to be laughed at. I don't know. I'm always weird about that kind of shit, because it's like super nerdy, and I know not everybody has the capacity to understand how that could be fun, or like, they'll be quick to call something that's different from what they understand weird. And just to protect myself from that, I always kept that shit a secret. But anyway, D&D, we've been playing that since we were kids, me, my cousins, and a couple friends and associates and shit that we linked up with on that, on that wavelength. We haven't played in a long time. I think the last time we actually did a campaign was back in 2012. And we've been talking about doing another campaign all these years, but motherfuckers just been busy raising kids. Me, my cousin, and one of my homeboys that are all in this particular friend group all had babies in the same year. And then I had another baby right afterwards. So we just been busy being dads, raising our families and shit. So we haven't really had a chance to commit the time to that, because it's a very time-consuming thing. But I say all that to say that I started live streaming our D&D sessions. Our first one was last Sunday, so 6 days ago, where, we're playing a fantasy role-playing game that you can't visualize it. There's no video game aspect to it. It's normally tabletop, but now we're playing online. So there is some visuals to it, because I'm live streaming the website that we play from, where you have character pieces, maps, and shit like that. And I think it's a fun time. Plus, this particular friend group that's playing, it'd be some funny moments, niggas be cracking jokes and talking about all kind of stuff. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and I wanted to capture that and kind of add that to my catalog. But with no further ado, man, I just let's get to this video so that we can do a little further deep dive into it.
You know, we've discussed modern audiences, the mythical, magical modern audiences, and soft modern games. We found the audience. It's the people that are running these companies nowadays. You have folks that are walking around on eggshells, afraid to say anything. Anecdotal, but just like a few weeks ago or a month ago or so, I remember I was live streaming, and instinctively I said something was retarded. I'm a millennial. We all grew up saying it. It's a product of my upbringing. Say what you will. I didn't say it consciously. It just came out. And one of my chatters pops up and says, "How often do you say that word?" I banned the fuck out of them. Get the fuck out of here with that. Are you kidding me? People that are out there that are waiting, prepared to be offended. I'm sick of it. You cannot have workplaces that are out there where every single thing that you say, you have to watch every word that comes out of your mouth. Otherwise, it could be your livelihood. And I'm not saying that you can walk around saying anything. That's not what this is. Everybody knows. I think that's the most frustrating part when you have these kind of conversations is that you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But the intellectual dishonesty around this kind of thing is just, it's fucking mind-boggling. We have workplace environments that actively work against any type of creative or constructive criticism. That's how you get games like this. This is how games and products are being ruined over time, is because nobody's allowed to criticize things properly. You have people in the workplace that are like, I don't think that these characters are going to be received well by the fans, but they're not allowed to say anything about it. They can't say it's not hot enough. It's not masculine enough. They can't say that because it's problematic to say so. Tame and safe are the antonyms of exciting and daring.
Baldur's Gate 3.
All right. So before I even continue, I want to make sure I give this guy his credit, because I don't believe in poaching people's content and not giving them the credit that they deserve. So give me 1 second. I'm going to have to edit this moment out with me searching for the original video. But I want to make sure that I name his channel. Oh, here it is. So his name is Legendary Drops. He is a gaming. He has a gaming channel. I don't know his actual name. Let's see if this is if it's in his description or anything. I kind of doubt it, but he has a channel called Legendary Drops, and it's a gaming channel. And I do follow a lot of gaming content because I'm really big into gaming. That's one of my favorite pastimes, one of my favorite forms of content to consume and stuff like that. Right now, there's a big hoopla going on around this Assassin's Creed game that's supposed to be coming out next month or 2 months from now or something like that. And it's set in feudal Japan, right? And it's a bunch of white people making this game, a bunch of white people running this company from various countries, because I know Ubisoft is kind of like a worldwide company. I think they have a Canadian branch, some sort of European branch, and they're probably in America real big too. But Ubisoft, is a gaming company. They catch a lot of flack because they make kind of a lot of games and they lie to people and they have shitty games, a lot of shitty games. All that aside, this game in particular, Assassin's Creed Shadows. Assassin's Creed Shadows is a game set in feudal Japan. It's fictional, but Assassin's Creed games are notorious for blending the two. It's fictional and it's excuse me. It's fictional and it's a bit of non-fiction at the same time. And all of their games is like this. One of my favorite games of all time is Assassin's Creed 2, as well as Assassin's Creed 3, technically, which was set in the Revolutionary War in America. And they talked a lot about Native Americans. The main character was a Native American assassin. His father was a Templar knight, like a Templar knight. And this game series is a story that essentially it goes into different eras in the past, and it's all covering the same story that is connecting over thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And each game is a different time period. They have a game set in Victorian, a Victorian era in France. They have a game that's set in the Revolutionary War era, like the 1800s in America. They have a game that's set 2,000 years ago in Egypt. They have a game that's, set, 300 years ago in Italy and shit like that, right? And they're talking about essentially bad guys versus good guys, and it's all these religious undertones and overtones. And there's this basically an ancient war between the Templars, which is almost like this Illuminati-esque group that controls the world secretly, and they all are fighting for this artifact that gives them this power to control time or space-time or whatever it is that they want to control, and it can transport them through time, I believe, and it can change reality. I don't know. It's called the Apple of Eden or Apple of Eve, Apple of Eden, right? All of that's fictional, but the reason why this game is so interesting is because they always find a way to blend in real people, real events, real places and times, and the civil unrest that is tied to those places and times. Like I said, they talked about the Revolutionary War. They wrote this character. I forget his name. Is it some sort of weird name? I forget his fucking name. Is it Edward? Is that Edward? I believe the character's name is... No, I can't remember. But anyway, they made him a Templar Knight, and they made him a part of the French. Did they make him a part? Was he a French soldier? But he also was secretly like a Templar Knight, and he was in pursuit of the Apple of Eden, and he ends up having sex with a Native American woman, and he had a Native American son, illegitimate son to him. He kind of was like a deadbeat father. His son ends up growing up not knowing who his father was, only to grow up and he joins the Assassin Order, which is the antithesis of the Templars. They are the good guys. The Assassins, well, most of history, they were the good guys, right? And he grows up to become an assassin only to find out that his father, his illegitimate unknown father, is a Templar, and he ends up hunting his own father and the side that he's on, being against that side. And, they blend these actual events with false, fake narratives. And it's a very interesting, dope game. It's super dope. The one that's my favorite, which is Assassin's Creed 2, they talk about, that is set in Italy. They're in like Florence and stuff like that. And they are talking about, I can't remember the whole story, but I do know that they incorporated Leonardo da Vinci into those stories. Now, these are real people, and these people can be, these people have living relatives, even though they're far, far removed. When you start talking about these people that actually existed, certain people might have opinions on how they're portrayed in these fictional games, right? Not so much about the Leonardo da Vinci. Nothing ever, as far as I know, didn't come out about that. But my point is, they talk about real people that actually existed. In this new Assassin's Creed game, they're talking about Yasuke, which is a black samurai that actually existed sometime in feudal Japan. I don't know his story, but I have heard of him over the years, and it's always been something that I intended to look into. I just never have. Well, it just so happens that this game was announced like last year, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, where they were going to make him the protagonist. Now, in comes a slew of people that have a problem with that. Some of them racist, some of them not. A lot of white people have a problem with the fact that there's a black main character, and they're saying that it's only because it's a woke narrative they're trying to push, or that they're trying to push this inclusivity that most things in media seem to be pursuing nowadays to get more diverse a more diverse income, influx of consumers to consume their product. Movies are doing it, TV shows, music is doing it, video games, whatever you can name, even books, right? Now, there's another crowd that is complaining about Yasuke being the main character in this game because they're saying that it is historically incorrect. It's less about racism. And just for the record, fuck those people that are saying just because it's a black character that it has to somehow be a play for diversity. Sometimes characters can just be black. Not every fucking character has to be a white man. Sometimes characters can be other things. Now, I will admit that a lot of these companies, because they're so fucking skeevy and weak, they try to do things for the money. They try to do things for the purpose of bringing in more of a crowd and getting more income and basically leeching off of minorities and shit like that and gay people and all of that alike. I can agree with that. That is a thing that these companies are doing, a lot. If you look at the last Star Wars series that came out on Disney Plus, that's called Acolytes, and they made it all about woman empowerment. And while cool, there's a lot of female characters that I like in the past from several different, you watch RoboCop, he had a woman sidekick. You watch Wonder Woman, the movie was cold to me, or Justice League, the movie where Wonder Woman was cold. Without it being like, oh yeah, go women. No, it don't gotta be that. You don't have to push a narrative by, with every character that you create. Sometimes cool characters are just created and they just happen to be women, or they happen to be black men or black women. When I watched the first Black Panther, very dope the way that they portrayed, I don't remember the name of those soldiers, but the women that were in that Wakandan army, it's very dope the way that they portrayed it. The woman from The Walking Dead, the one that played Michonne, the way that she portrayed her own character, amazing. And it didn't feel like they were shoving some sort of agenda or they were trying to pander to someone by doing that. It was just the character. That's how I perceived it. Now, ironically, if you were to bring up the second Black Panther movie, it did not feel like it was organic. I know Chadwick Boseman had passed and that they had a little to work with, less to work with. They had to work around not recasting him as, not recasting someone else as the Black Panther. So they kind of leaned heavily on the pre-existing characters. But to me, it seemed like a mixture of that fact and the fact that they were trying to appeal to women in such a way that they were almost pandering to them like, oh yeah, go women. All right. Like, Black Panther 2 was cool. It wasn't great to me. And I just watched it like 2 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, something like that. I don't know. I wasn't really interested in watching it because Chadwick had passed, and it was like, I don't know how well they're going to be able to pull this movie off without Black Panther. He's gone. And I knew that they weren't recasting, right? I'm saying all this, just follow me. I'm getting to my point. My point is that I don't know what is the switch, but I think I know what the switch was. I have an opinion. I think the switch was the Me Too movement. And I want to be careful of how I go about this because I don't want to make it seem as if I think that these women that came forth about these horrible things that were being done in Hollywood or wherever, I don't want to make it seem like I'm saying they're wrong. But the result was that it made everyone aware of the eggshells on the floor. And now everyone is walking on eggshells, trying not to break them. You understand what I'm saying? So companies who previously were, see, this guy, Legendary Drops, in his video, he talks a lot about exactly what I'm about to go into. And he does it probably better than I'm about to, but I'm still going to bring it up. because I'm going to bring it up in the way that I saw it. These women, I mean, not women, these women coming forth and airing all of these men out, it changed the nature of the workplace all over the world, not just in Hollywood, because it became a very sensitive thing. And not because companies gave a fuck, but it became the environment, the nature, the atmosphere in these workplaces became very sensitive because these companies were afraid of getting their fucking socks sewed off. They didn't want to seem complicit in something happening. Because I used to work for a company where everybody there had worked there for 40, 50 years, and it was the good old boy system where everybody there, we all know each other, everybody's buddy-buddy, they're all doing favors for each other, and all the newcomers are kind of like shit on, and, they're like not really respected like that because you're not a part of the good old boy club. Now, when you go in there, there's a culture that's attached to that familiarity, that family that they've built. People are just doing whatever. They're talking about shit that they shouldn't be talking about. They're using language in front of people that they shouldn't be using. There's been plenty of times I never said anything. I don't even remember specifics because I've been gone from that company for 6 years now, and these things happened even before I left, years before I left. So I don't really remember specifics, but I do remember times where certain things were happening, and I was like, what the fuck? Why would he say that? Why would he talk to her like that? Or why would he make the sexual advance out loud? And I was thinking back then, like, whoa, you really like risking it all to get some pussy from at work right now. Like, relax, my nigga. Now, I can say that I've flirted and I've even felt on women at work, but it was always consensual and they invited it, and it was like it was a thing that was being discussed amongst us. But I wasn't just grabbing titties and slapping asses. But again, being at work and doing that sort of shit is risky. Now, in comes the Me Too movement, and it becomes not only risky for you, but it becomes risky for the corporation and the leaders of it. Because now, if a woman says, yeah, a guy slapped my ass in 1972 while I was working on this machine, now it's like, okay, believe all women. And she's right. And we don't have any evidence of it, but because of the volatility of this movement and the environments that it created, you have to believe her. Otherwise, she could just say subjectively, they're not believing me because I'm a woman, and now I'm going to sue every fucking person that didn't believe me too. So now companies are just like, fuck it, believe her, fire the guy that she blamed. I don't give a fuck if he didn't do it or not. Fire him because we can't risk the liability of getting our fucking sock suit off. We don't want our company to fall or have to pay this woman $15 million because some fucking horny dude that we hired couldn't keep his hands to himself, right? And it kind of started in Hollywood, but it bled into everything else too, which is it's good in a lot of ways because now women feel like they have a voice and recourse to air out their grievances. Totally with that. Again, I have a sister. If she's at work and somebody does something to her, I want her voice to be heard. But here's where it got tricky. People started lying. People are still lying. And it's not just a suspicion. It's not just, I suspect that she's lying. No, we have heard plenty of stories of people lying, women and men. Jussie Smollett being one, Juicy Smollett, very French, very gay actor. He was caught lying and got convicted for lying. And that is all a part of the same umbrella, if you ask me, because he was just a black man on the other side of the fence saying, oh, I had somebody attack me in the middle of downtown Chicago in fucking January, and I was walking the subway and they beat me up and put a noose on my neck, all to like further his career or to get attention or sympathy, or I don't know. I don't even know. I didn't even follow that case for very long because I was fucking tired of it. And I knew he was lying from day one. But, I mean, I didn't know shit. I just thought so. But people started lying because they knew that they had this big giant victim card that is now overvalued that we can all play, you know? And this ties back into a lot of the shit that I was talking about in the Larry Elder episode and a lot of stuff. You know, as a black man, I try to be very careful about playing this card. You know, this my skin is brown card. I don't like that card. Now, I know that I've been a victim of racism, and I know I've interacted with plenty of white people that don't like me simply because I'm black. Or sometimes they don't like me because I'm young. Or sometimes they don't like me because I'm young and black. But I still don't like the idea of being the victim. I don't want to rest my hat on that. You know, I want to be a man, and if there are obstacles in my way, the only choice that I have is to overcome them. I'm not going to call the NAACP every fucking time I'm uncomfortable. You know, that's not the shit that I believe in. Now, I applaud those that stand up and fight for their rights, and you know, and call out the wrongdoings that befall them and all of the shit that we've seen happen over the last 12, 15 years with Black Lives Matter and all that shit. Some of it was good, but as we have seen, that Black Lives Matter shit was some bullshit. You know, you got to be careful with these fucking movements and these labels and all of this sensationalism because it is a very slippery slope. People of all colors capitalize on other people's weaknesses and moments of vulnerability. We thought black people were just incapable of treating black people wrong for some fucking reason. And then we find out that the hoes that was running the Black Lives Matter movement was just a bunch of greedy ass feminist type bitches that don't really give a fuck about black people at all. They give a fuck about themselves. And they saw an opportunity. You know, if there's a gold rush, you don't look for gold. You sell shovels. You sell sifts and pickaxes and buckets and shit. You sell the supplies for the hype. That's how you make real money. You find a need and you fill it. The BLM bitches found a need and they filled it. They played on people's emotions. They saw that there was a lot of civil unrest, and then they even manufactured a lot of it by picking up every single fucking thing that happened and turning it into big hoopla so that they can get more things going and get more CNN coverage and get more television time and sell more books and sell tickets to rallies and we selling T-shirts and we got hats and we got sweaters and scarves and man, that ain't no motherfucking revolution. Revolution ain't got no fucking clothing line attached to it. A revolution is when motherfuckers is bleeding and dying for what they believe in. Fuck your shirt. You know, how the fuck you come out of this with a new house, ho? It's because you capitalize off the pain, the blood that other people were shedding in the name of what you call Black Lives Mattering. All of these things were born out of that atmosphere, this sensitivity shit that we're all drowning in right now. As a person that consumes a lot of art in all different forms, I don't like the last 8, 9, 10 years that I've had to endure as a big fan of art. Now, my favorite rapper is afraid to say the word faggot. Bear with me. Now, every movie, they have to make sure they got some nigga in it because white people are afraid of the backlash that we're going to have us saying, well, how come you ain't got no black people in this movie? Oh. I was born in the 80s. So I grew up in the 90s when that conversation was very loud and very present. Oh, y'all ain't got no brothers in this movie, no brothers. Then what producers and casting directors started doing was saying, okay, to get these people to shut the fuck up so we can stop catching all this heat in the tabloids or wherever, we're going to start casting some black people in this shit, even if it doesn't make any motherfucking sense, right? So then you start getting movies that took place 700 years ago, or let's say 200 years ago, and there just happened to be some black guy. But it's like, no, we know in America at least, 200 years ago, the likelihood of this black character being able to participate in this way, I don't have a particular movie, but my point still stands. We know that the likelihood of this black character being present, first of all, and being able to participate in this way contradicts the true history of this country. Because 200 years ago, that man would have been a slave. It's just facts. Not every black person in America was a slave, but a lot and most of them were, right? I don't want to be appeased in that way. I don't want people to kiss up to my fucking boots to get me to come see your movie. I can consume content that doesn't resolve around some sort of black person sometimes. That's fine. I used to watch Seinfeld. You know, rarely was there black characters on that show. I like Larry David. You know, I like Friends. That's cool. That 70s show. You know, because then I could flip the channel and go to UPN and watch The Parkers or Girlfriends, where there was very little white presence. And Kelsey Grammer is the one doing the show. Everything don't have to appeal to everybody, my nigga. That's my point. Everything don't gotta be for you. Where do we get this arrogance from that everything gotta make you comfortable? If white people are making a show for other white people because that's the demographic it would most likely appeal to, why the fuck am I gonna jump up and say, oh, it ain't no niggas in this show? Y'all racist or something? Man, it sounds like your ability to think is very small and narrow. It sounds like you're very reactive and emotional. It sounds like you need to go make your own motherfucking TV show. Now, this is a very nuanced conversation to have because we do understand that a lot of black shows were created and a lot of black shows were stolen from as well. Because as we all know by now, Friends was a concept that was originally pitched to be Living Single. They're the same show. Living Single and Friends is the same show. In fact, Living Single was pitched first. And I believe they said it wouldn't work, blah, blah, blah. Then they took the fucking idea and made Friends off of it instead. They even said the studios that they worked out of producing Friends, they had better amenities, air conditioning, better food. They had the newer lots. While Living Single had the outdated lots, no air conditioning, uncomfortable, you know? So I understand the injustices. Those are real injustices that happen, right? I'm not denying the presence of wrongdoing. But what I am saying is that not every fucking show or movie is guilty of doing shit like that. America is guilty of doing that in general. But my thought is that the way to climb out of bad circumstances is not complaining. You can have discourse, sure. But I think the most important thing you should be focused on is working and creating value for yourself, despite the very real and present enemies that are trying to halt that very thing. See, when you look at people like the Wayans brothers or Queen Latifah or Will Smith or whatever, whoever you want to name, right? In the television space. Shit like that. The Wayans brothers, we all know that Living Color did not get the same type of coverage, budget, respect that SNL got. You know, we know that that's a far cry. They did not get the type of money or coverage that In Living Color got. I was there when the show was out. I was very young. I was not old enough to understand the goings on business-wise of that. I don't know what type of budget In Living Color had, but it is what it is. But my point is, the Wayans brothers still produced. They still made a great product that we're still talking about and drawing from today. It produced a lot of stars that went on to do great things. Jim Carrey being one of them. Jennifer Lopez being another one. You know, Tommy Davidson, David Allen Greer, the other Wayans brothers, and so on and so forth. They produced and they fought, right? Now, I believe their arguments back then were a lot more legitimate than the arguments are today. Because I think the problems that they faced and the type of plagiarism that was going on between these studios, these TV studios and these movie studios, they were stealing black ideas and refacing them as white ideas. Now, I can understand that from a business standpoint because they know white audiences are bigger. They're going to produce more money. But from an ethical standpoint, it's pretty fucked up, right? But today, we have people that have a much more level, fair playing ground. It's not totally 100% level, but we have a little more of a shot than we did 30, 40 years ago. And we have much more of a means to connect to people that will connect to our material. What's his name? The nigga that made Medea. I don't know why I can't think of his name. I just had it and it just literally left my brain. But he's a prime example of what I'm talking about. You know, I don't know how he did it. I don't even want to get into that shit. But I want to say he found his audience and he catered to that audience. Initially, when he started doing it, he did that shit through word of mouth and DVDs. Now he has it to where, yeah, there's more white people in America, but there's enough black people to support my dream. And I know these people are going to resonate with this content because this content is made from their pains and their joys in their lives. It's made from the things that they experienced every day. So Tyler Perry, there you go. He said, you know, I don't give a fuck that there's less black people than white people in this country. The black people that we have is enough. He made the content and we connected to it, and now this nigga's a fucking billionaire. You know, there's many other ones that don't make it to that status and are not being heard or seen. I'm an artist that's not being heard and seen by the people that I'm trying to reach. But I don't think it's a white person's fault. It's my fault. Because the audience is there. I'm living in Detroit. It's one of the blackest cities in the fucking world. You know, if my people are the ones that's going to connect to my content, it's my job to get it in their hands. Just like Tyler Perry did it, however that was. But we can't use that and play that card to make everyone else out to be a racist just because we don't make it. Sometimes that is the reason. But sometimes it isn't the fucking reason too. Sometimes you just fail because people fucking fail. Let's bridge this point to the other point that I was making. All of this sensitivity that we're all walking in, we can feel it. It's dense. You can cut the shit with a butter knife, right? It's thick. It permeates the air. Everywhere we go, we have to always be considering some shit. And I will tell you, as a black man, the thing that I fear the most is hurting a black woman's feelings. A motherfucker that's supposed to be my fucking ally. I'm more afraid of them than a fucking white woman. Because I'm afraid of saying the wrong thing. I can't buck up against feminism because then, oh, you insecure, you got little D energy and all of this shit that they like to throw at a nigga and weaponize to make you shut the fuck up. And if anything you say contradicts what they think, then you're some sort of woman-hating, weak, little dick-having ass nigga. Okay, well, damn. You know what I think? I think that if you create a culture that nothing you say can be challenged, you are the weak motherfucker. I think if you try to put these, you try to put these cornerstones out there and you say, this is how it should be. I'm the woman, I'm the prize. I don't got to do X, Y, and Z. You supposed to do this and that for me. I'm not fucking with no nigga that make this, that, and the other. And a nigga can't say nothing to disagree with that. You are a motherfucking tyrant. I wake up every day with the thing in the back of my mind, how not to offend women, but especially black women. And I'm going to be honest. I am fucking tired, my nigga. It's time to start telling these hoes the truth. And this has been my state of being for a long time. Now, me holding you accountable and telling you that you're wrong about something doesn't mean that everyone else and everything else is right. We're so afraid of offending people that now we all have to walk around pretending to believe in shit that we don't believe in. I don't believe that a little boy should be able to transition into a fucking girl when he's 6 years old. I don't believe that they should be asking my son, what does he identify as a fucking 5-year-old? I don't believe that that should be going on. But guess what, though? It is going on. Because I went to a presentation that my son's class had. I'm sitting in the back of the fucking room, and my son stands up and says, I identify as he, him. My question is, what the fuck do he need to know some shit like that for? Why does my son need to be confused about whether he's a he, him, or a her, she? Because as far as I fucking know, from the moment I started raising my son, I started calling his ass he, him, his. Those are the words that I used from the moment he popped out of my baby mama's vagina. So why does he then have to go to school only to be told, oh no, you don't gotta be, you can be something else. That's not your motherfucking right to implant some shit into my household. That's not your right. I don't give a fuck what you believe in or what the status quo is. The status quo don't have shit to do with what I believe in, because if I remember correctly, even the Constitution gives me the right to believe in what I want to believe in. But fuck the Constitution, because that's not my God. America is not my God. Natural law is my God. I can believe in whatever I want to believe in, and I can perpetuate that into my kids because they're my kids. You go have your own motherfucking kids. See, but the problem is, you can't. Because even though you identify as a she, her, your pussy don't work. I'm not trying to be mean, but the point is, people are trying to push a fucking narrative to say that I have to pretend that reality isn't reality. I don't have a fucking problem with trans people. But I do have a problem when your agenda somehow makes its way into my household, and now my son is at school announcing what he identifies as when we already had that figured out. My son very much believes he is a boy, and it's not because I told him he is. I had a conversation with him the other day, just for clarification. I said, Egypt, you think, what did I say to him? I was like, Egypt, you think you can become a girl? You know what he said? He said, what? He said, why would you ask me that? This is my 7-year-old son. He said, why would you ask me that? I said, I don't know, I'm just asking. I'm joking, but I'm serious. He don't know I'm joking. But I say, I'm just asking. He like, no, I'm a boy. And he went back to playing his game. It wasn't a big fucking deal. And we don't got to make it one. Why are we introducing complications to people that aren't even asking for them? Why do my son got to be a part of some shit you believe in? That would be like me walking my son into the school and him sitting down in his first classroom. Mind you, this was in first grade. They asked my son, what do you identify as? So he's 5 or 6. That would be like them. The first thing they ask him is, are you sure you want to believe in God? Because you have other options. You could be a Satanist. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? That's not a complication that we had just a few moments ago. You're introducing new shit almost to further your agenda onto these children that didn't ask for that. Leave that shit to the adults. I have no problem with you identifying as a woman if that's what you want to do. Do whatever the fuck you want to do. Because we are allowed freedoms as natural beings. You can do whatever you want, including kill people. Just be prepared for the consequences. The same is true for the trans movement. You can identify as whatever you want, but there are consequences that come with it, like people that don't agree with it. I don't hate anybody. Truth be told, I don't like none of you motherfuckers. I don't like anybody. But I don't walk around. I've seen trans people in real life. They've been on my airplane. They was at many places I was at. I look at them, go back to doing what I was doing. It's never, oh, let's go chase that motherfucker and beat him up, or he has no right to be here. You know what I'm saying? I don't have a problem with that. But just leave my fucking son alone. And we're walking around in this environment where everything's fucking weird and nobody knows what's going on. And as a black man, I'm walking around feeling like I've done something wrong. When they chasing niggas that look like me down and dragging them behind pickup trucks and hanging them from trees and beating them to death or shooting them. And for some reason, the last 7, 8, 9, 10 years, I'm walking around feeling like I've done something wrong to people. I ain't do shit to none of you motherfuckers. My man's in the video mentioned it's like willful ignorance. It's like intellectual, what did he say? Intellectual some shit. Where we're like willfully misunderstanding people's point. You know when I say something is retarded, that I'm not trying to cause harm to people that suffer from mental issues. We know that. There are all sorts of euphemisms in American English that don't necessarily make any sense, but we still accept them to mean what we culturally have accepted them to mean. So when I say, man, that shit is retarded, that does not mean that I hate retarded people or mentally ill people. You know, that's not what that means. We're so busy trying to be correct that everything's fucking wrong. Now we're afraid to make movies the way that we truly, truly want to, because now we're so afraid of stepping on another motherfucker's toes and being sued. Now our culture has essentially transformed into just this big, oh, I'm afraid. And when I walk up to someone, I have to say, hello, how are you doing? They, them. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm afraid of getting the motherfucker's pronouns wrong. And then when I say, you know, because this motherfucker got breasts and look a certain way, and I say, you know, how you doing, ma'am? Now I gotta be, oh shit, I was on the phone with the water company the other day. Motherfucker answered the phone, sound like a woman to me. I say, she asked me something. Do you have your bill in front of you? Something I was like, yes, ma'am. And instantly, instinctually, I go, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And I waited. I legit waited to see if she was going to say, sir, I am not a ma'am. You know, nothing happened, but my point is, I'm tired of fucking feeling like that. I am. I'm not going to lie. I'm tired of it. I respect everybody. We give each other basic respects. I'm not going to bump into you if we're walking up the sidewalk together. I'm not going to spit on your face. I'm not going to knock your food off the table if we're eating in the same restaurant. I'm not going to call you a bitch. But I'm not going to play these fucking games. And I'm not going to call you a unicorn because you identify as a unicorn. I'm not going to call you a little girl if you're a 6'4", 320-pound nigga. I'm not doing that. I'm sorry. I won't. I'm not calling you little girl and you taller than me and you got a penis that is larger than mine. I'm not calling you little girl. I won't do it. I don't hate anybody. If this offends people, cool. But sometimes a motherfucker need to be offended.